For more than 1,000 years, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers was the beating heart of human civilization. Here, in the cradle of Mesopotamia, the Sumerians forged a society unlike any the world had ever seen. They invented writing, they built the first cities, they crafted laws, mathematics, and vast networks of canals and levees to bend nature to their will. Their cities, Ur, Uruk, Lagash, Babylon, rose from desert dust, crowned with ziggurats that reach for the heavens. At a time when most of humanity still wandered or farmed in small villages, the Sumerians created a world of palaces, temples, and bustling marketplaces. By every measure, Sumer was the pinnacle of human achievement. Yet, within just a few centuries, this civilization vanished. The cities that once echoed with the footsteps of priests, scribes, and merchants became silent ruins. The fields that had yielded abundant harvests were transformed into salt-poisoned wastes where nothing would grow. The Sumerian language, once the tongue of kings and scholars, faded into obscurity. What archaeologists discovered next will shock you. Sumer did not fall to invaders or to some catastrophic plague. The truth was even more unsettling. The Sumerians, brilliant, innovative, and powerful, had engineered their own destruction. The story begins with water. In a land of burning sun and scarce rain, water was life. The Sumerians mastered the art of irrigation, carving canals from the rivers to their fields, turning barren desert into a green, fertile paradise. With each generation, their canals grew larger, their levees stronger, their waterworks more sophisticated. Crops flourished, cities swelled with people freed from the fields by agricultural surpluses. Bureaucracies blossomed, armies marched, and temples rose, all made possible by the bounty of the land. But beneath the surface, an invisible enemy was gathering. Every time water flowed through the canals and soaked the fields, it carried with it invisible minerals, salts dissolved from the earth and the rivers. Each harvest, each irrigation, left behind a tiny residue of salt. The Sumerians did not know this. To them, the answer to declining yields was simple: build more canals, bring more water, irrigate more fields. But with each new effort, the problem only grew worse. Decade by decade, century by century, the invisible poison crept deeper into the soil. Archaeological evidence tells a chilling tale. Soil cores taken from former Sumerian farmland show a steady rise in salt concentrations over the centuries, from levels ideal for wheat to thresholds that not even barley, the hardiest of crops, could survive. Ancient Sumerian texts, painstakingly translated from their cuneiform tablets, record the desperate shift from wheat to barley, and then, as even barley failed, the abandonment of once lush fields. Harvests shrank. Famine stalked the land. The great cities began to hollow out as people fled the dying countryside. And with the economic foundation crumbling, the social and political order quickly followed. Sumer's civilization had been built on cooperation, the shared maintenance of canals, the careful distribution of water, the intricate balance of city and countryside. But as the crisis deepened, that cooperation shattered. City-states turned on one another, fighting for dwindling resources. Bitter wars raged over water rights and the last scraps of arable land. Administrative documents from the era reveal a society in turmoil, disputes over water, falling tax revenues, the abandonment of villages and towns. Priests and kings, once revered, now struggle to maintain order as their authority slipped away. The truth has been hidden for thousands of years, but the signs are unmistakable to those who know where to look. Archaeologists found entire neighborhoods abandoned, public buildings left to decay, workshops shuttered forever. The intricate crafts, the beautiful artwork, even the mathematics and astronomy that had stunned later civilizations, all began to fade. Sumer, once a beacon of innovation, regressed. Its people reverted to simpler tools and less ambitious projects. The great ziggurats stood alone, crumbling in the relentless sun. By the time foreign powers arrived, the Akkadians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, Sumer was already a ghost of its former self. The conquerors seized cities and took up the Sumerian legacy. But they inherited a land in ruin, its soils poisoned, and its wealth gone. The knowledge of how to repair the land existed, scattered in ancient texts, and the wisdom of a few farmers. Some Sumerians had tried to drain their fields, to leach away the salt, to rotate crops. But the scale of the crisis was too great, the political will too fractured, the solutions too slow. The civilization that had mastered water did not understand the hidden price of its mastery. What happened next would haunt Mesopotamia for millennia. The environmental devastation was so complete that even today, over 3,500 years after the last Sumerian city fell, much of southern Iraq remains a salt-encrusted desert. Cities that once supported tens of thousands are barely recognizable mounds of mud brick and pottery shards. The land that first taught humanity how to farm, how to write, how to govern, never recovered. And yet, Sumer left an indelible mark on human history. Their inventions, writing, law, the wheel, the plow, spread across the world, carried by traders, conquerors, and refugees. The echoes of Sumerian civilization can be found in the legal codes of Hammurabi, in the mathematics of Babylon, in the myths of Gilgamesh and the flood. But the most important legacy may be a warning, a lesson written not in cuneiform, but in the salt that poisoned their fields. Why did such a brilliant civilization fail to save itself? The answer lies in the limits of human foresight. Sumerian society, like so many after it, was organized to respond to immediate needs and short-term gains. The slow, creeping disaster of salinization unfolded over generations, too slowly for any single leader to address, too complex for city-states locked in rivalry to solve together. Their greatest strength, large-scale cooperation for irrigation, became their fatal weakness when that cooperation broke down. This pattern would repeat across the ages. The Maya, the Khmer, even the Romans, all would rise on the back of environmental mastery, and all would teeter when that mastery turned to overreach. Sumer's story is the first chapter in the long saga of civilizations that soared too high and fell, not to enemies or fate, but to the consequences of their own success. The ruins of Sumer stand today as silent monuments to both human triumph and hubris. Beneath the scorching sun, amid the salt-crusted earth, archaeologists continue to sift through the remains, piecing together the lost story of our first great civilization. Each new discovery, an abandoned canal, a tablet recording a failed harvest, a house left in haste, adds another clue. But the central mystery remains. Could Sumer have been saved, or was its fall inevitable the moment the first canal was dug? This changes everything we thought we knew about human history. Sumer's rise and fall is not just a story of ancient glory and ruin. It is a mirror reflecting our own choices and challenges. Are we too sowing the seeds of our own destruction, blinded by the brilliance of our achievements? Or can we learn from the lost civilizations of the past and avoid repeating their fate? The answer, like the ruins of Sumer, waits to be uncovered.